Welcome back to Just 2 Minutes, Just a Mishnayos. This Mishnayos Nishmas, Fredele Basracham, Nuschus of Ali Yitzchak Ben Gila, and their frost. So Basivis of Shlema, so Mesachas Bava Kama Perachas Mishnah Alpha Mishnah Beis. If someone damages his friend on purpose, so he has to pay him 5 things: nezek, the regular payment; tsar, which is the pain; ripoi, the doctor's fees; b'sheves, the work which this guy missed out on; ubabaishes, and the embarrassment. Now we're going to go into each of these things separately. Benezek ketzad. So what's the nezek with damaged? Sumes ena, if he blinds them, or kotas yoda, if he cuts off his hand; shibres ragla, if he breaks his leg; roin osakilu, whoever nimkar b'shuk, v'shaman kamu yafe, v'kamu yafe. So we work out if this guy was being sold as a slave, how much he was worth before, and how much he's worth now that this damage has been done to him. Tsar kvoi b'shipud ay b'masmer v'afilu al tziparnai makam she'ena oisa chabura aimdin kama adam kayetze b'zer roitze lita liyos mitzdarkach. Basically, let's say the guy that, like, stabbed a nail into him, for instance. That's the Mishnah. That's the example the Mishnah gives. So even if it's on, let's say, his fingernail, where it's not going to do so much damage, we work out how much anyone would pay, how much money this guy would take in order for this to be done to him. So let's say if someone says to you, will you break your leg and I'll pay you 10,000 shekels? You say no. But if the person would say to you, and I'll give you £1 million if you break your leg, so it could be you'll say yes, depending on the person. So depending on how much money he would take, that's the amount you have to pay for the pain. Ripoi, for like the doctor's fees for him to get better. He has to pay as much as it costs to get him back to the state that he was before, basically to heal the wounds. If he had smachim on it, which is some kind of like white, I think it's like pus or some kind of other something, basically the wound got worse or it got an infection. So if it was because of the wound that this guy gave him, so then he has to pay to heal that. But if not, then not. If he had a different wound anyways, or if there was something wrong with his hand, he got a boil which had pus and it didn't happen because of the wound, so then he doesn't have to pay for it. If the wound got better, if it got better and then it got worse again, and it got better and again and it got worse, so every time it gets worse, the guy has to keep on paying for it to be healed until it's completely healed. If it mamish actually healed properly and it finished healing, if it suddenly gets worse, the guy doesn't have to pay for it, because it's most probably not because of him, it's because of something else. Sheves, how do you pay for the work that this guy lost? Because let's say if you broke his hand and he's a builder, so he can't work with a broken hand, so you have to pay for that loss that he had. So we look at him as if he's literally a god of cucumbers, meaning a god in like a field. And because we don't go specifically based on the work which he has, because we already paid him the amount which he would be paid for, losing his hand, for instance. So we just pay him the lowest space, basically the lowest job, which he could technically do even with his broken hand. The embarrassment, it all goes according to the person who's embarrassing him and the person who's being embarrassed. If someone lifts up basically someone's clothes, even if it was like already flapping around a bit and now everyone can see him and it's embarrassing. If someone makes fun of a blind person who, even though he can't actually see, he feels that he's being embarrassed and it's not an uncomfortable feeling for him. Or if you embarrass someone who's sleeping, chayav. So in all these cases you have to pay for embarrassing them, even if you don't actually do anything physical to them. V'yoshin shebiyos potter. But if the person was sleeping and somehow while he was sleeping he embarrassed someone, so then he doesn't have to pay because he's sleeping and it's not his fault. Nachum and Agag, if someone accidentally falls off a roof, v'hizek ubiyesh, and he falls on top of someone and he hurts them and he also embarrasses them, chayav al nezek upotter al abaishes, he only has to pay for the damage, not for the embarrassment. Because in the pasuk it talks about how if you hurt someone, basically you have to pay. So because over here it was by mistake, you don't have to pay for the embarrassment unless you do it on purpose. Mishnah Beis the following thing, a person who damages it's more chomer, it's more stringent than an ox. because a person has to pay all these 5 things which we discussed in the previous Mishnah, Masham Demei Vladais, and if he hurts a pregnant woman and she has a miscarriage, because of that he also has to pay for the unborn child. But the only thing which an ox pays for is the plain damage, and that's it. And those are these Mishnayos.